Drakes.
Mm-hmm.
And for that young man, yeah, kudos to him. I mean, to me, he was the ultimate, is the hero CPL.
Mm-hmm.
He epitomized the hero of the match and arguably for me, the hero of the CPL because up until he started playing with the St. Kitts Nevis Patriots, everybody may have heard the name Dominic Drakes,
Mm-hmm.
but they would have overlooked him on the account that he was Vasmat's son. I
Yeah.
knew Vasmat as I would have gone to UE and Vasmat would have come on to UE practicing a few times. So I
Mm-hmm.
knew him only as Vasmat's son. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Your potential, because you know, a lot of these Caribbean cricketers have a lot of potential at that early age.
Mm-hmm.
And up until his 16 wickets in this Hero CPL here, he was a big part player. Sometimes he didn't get to play in some
Correct.
teams
Correct.
and this kind of thing. But
Mm-hmm.
you watched him learn and develop throughout the CPL, and his left arm pace bowling became such a weapon for us. And
Mm-hmm.
to know that you just get lambase in the first innings because that's practically what Kiwo did with him. Um,
Yes.
and then you had the fortitude to be able to recover from that to hit a 24 ball 48 a 24 ball 48 is Kieran Pollard and Andre Russell kind of
Yes.
lash,
Yes.
you know. So
Mm-hmm.
it really showed a serious degree of character for the young man, and I really hope that whomever the West Indies selectors are, wherever he decides his next steps are, he builds on that because it shows us that there's something there. There's a winner in there in that young man, and he needs further support. He needs further, assistance in developing his game some more. But he could definitely be a star for the future. The likes of even our own very Sheldon Cottrell,
Yeah.
where he that left arm pace. He's developed a lovely slower ball now.
Mm-hmm.
He's developed he's been able to change his lengths, and understand how that works in the T20 match in games. So I'm really hoping that somebody takes him under the wing, over the next few years and allow him to develop. But beyond that, the entire game, how let's just say that the CPL this year, I think perhaps is one of the best years in terms of advertisements for them because we had our distractions. We had our distractions. We had our challenges. Everybody talking about this COVID and how it's affecting how this. Notice I am not outside of the unfortunate incident with the gentleman who from St. Kitts, Louis, who
Mm-hmm.
would have been released from the bubble because of apparently personal reasons. We haven't had any fallout in terms of any players, coaches, or staff working alongside these teams
Mm-hmm.
contracting or spreading COVID. So the bubble worked,
Yeah.
right?
and 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 that's the thing because you hear of look in the recent in the Australia series that happened.
Yes.
And so in the recent England India series, it happened with even someone just playing in the 100 and traveling to, was it Pakistan, Bangladesh, wherever,
Right.
and picking up COVID. So it's happened, and I'm not saying that we say okay, well, because we are small or whatever, but it was more controlled, and even though it
Yes.
would have been nice to have the players out, because for previous editions of CPL, when they hear Friday night on the strip ban, so most games were scheduled for maybe a Friday night early finish, because on the strip you push for the strip and then you'll have maybe at Saturday game, double games, double header on Saturday and Sunday, that kind of thing, So they had to work, basically really work within a small bubble. Everything had to really function and run on schedule and on time
Yes.
in a
Yes.
systematic manner, which it didn't benefit everyone, but I mean it worked, and I'm glad to see that they were able to pull off the CPL in these kind of times, because I'm pretty sure it wasn't easy.
Yeah. And that's what I was saying. It was to me. It was perhaps the best. This how should I put it? The best display CPL could have asked for, given all of the challenges that being faced international. IPL had to be called off
Mm-hmm.
because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
IPL is the showpiece.
Yep.
You know, CPL coming a close second. IPL, no, I think IPL resumed yesterday or today because I was reading
Yeah.
one of the reports I saw
I saw a
Bravo,
game today. So
CSK,
I
right?
think it's today.
CSK and Bravo still
They played
continuing
today.
his fine form because he took 3-4 and hit a 8-ball 23 or 24 for CSK to beat Mumbai Indians. And we can report on that a little later on.
Mm-hmm.
But as you said, all other international series, or most other international series, have been affected by COVID.
Yep.
We were able to manage the CPL in such a way that it was uninterrupted due to COVID. Now, it also was set up in such a way where we did not lose quality of play because you mentioned it even when we spoke with Pete Russell. The pitches held up well.
Oh yeah. I don't know how they got that to work, honestly, man.
Right? The pitches held up really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
The displays were pretty much symptomatic of where the teams fell in the end. Um, Barbados didn't really show up.
No.
They snatched defeat out of victory no less than 4 times by my count.
Yeah.
So once you do that,
they had many games to win which they just didn't close out.
yeah,
They just
yeah.
did not close out those games.
Once you're unable to close out games that you're supposed to win, you can't expect to do anything.
Correct.
Jamaica was Jamaica, inconsistent. When Jamaica firing on all cylinders, everybody running.
Yeah.
The first match, when I saw them play the first match, I think it was against the same Barbados Royals. I tell myself we have some problems this year because Canal Lewis, he had a very good series, but outside of him, everybody else kind of flip-flopped. You know, some was good, some were not. And then the top four were anybody could have pulled out the performances on the days of the semi-final and final to pull the trophy. But kudos to the two teams that made it to the semi-final, and I mean to the final in the St. Lucia Kings and the St. Kitts Nevis Patriots, in the sense that they Kings, as I mentioned in the article, they had their foundation set from the previous CPL. They built on that. Roston Chase was immense. I mean, immense. I was terrified against that man when we faced him.
He definitely deserved that play of CPLA because he was. Listen, he failed what twice?
Twice. As far as my comms concerned.
Twice. The man failed twice. He went as far, he performed so well that I believe he's the reason why Jason Holder is not in the 15.
Well, that's actually something I think we could probably discuss as you go along too, because I believe that Holder should be there in place of Andre.
In place, possibly, because one thing and it goes back to my feeling with even with Lewis. Even though I'm glad that he basically lasted the entire series, but it goes back to I just don't see Andre playing a full tournament without getting injured. No. And secondly, I you know what you get from Holder. He's consistent. Yes. You know, you don't get it from Russell. He's just not as consistent as Holder is. You know, so I don't. So I'm gonna agree with you there.
Yeah, because I think Barbados came last, right?
Yeah,
but he was still a standout performer with bat and ball, despite their results.
Yeah.
And he was one of the few players from their team that showed fight throughout, even though they were not winning. He showed the necessary character to stand up and be accountable and fight.
Yeah.
Yes, some of his decisions as captain, we could point our fingers and say, yeah, he ain't ready for the captaincy. But I am not taking him to the World Cup as a captain. I'm taking him to the World Cup as an all-rounder. And he's a quality batsman on all formats of the game. So you're not going to lose anything like with Andre. You know Andre is a T20 specialist. But if he's not on form, then we're not going to get anything out of him because or we're not going to get anything much out of him. You may get 1, 2 good performances, but for the World Cup, you need to be spot on as many times as is humanly possible. So if there's going to be a space, a toss-up between all-rounders with Andre Russell and Jason Holder, I would go with Jason because I know with Jason I can get wickets for sure, and I'm liable to get runs, and he can hit the ball just as hard, maybe not as hard as Andre, but he can hit the ball over the boundary for 6. And he knows the opposition as well too, you know. But unfortunately, he was not selected, and part of that for me is a little bit of CWI politics as far as I'm concerned. You know, I think unfortunately for whatever reason he's being judged for against others for very non-sporting
critical. It's a lot of it is off the field.
Yes,
it's not really his performance per se on the field, because remember he's the only true and true red ball and white ball player we have. Contracted player. Yes. You know, he fits in. He plays in all 3 teams. He's the only one. So obviously he got the talent to do it. But yeah, it's more of something that is outside the cricketing field issue that they have with him. I guess he spoke out about some stuff, and that probably kind of trade off. But going back to Chase really, I don't know, man. He just listen. I had him in my fantasy team because I was like, listen, he did it last year. Let's see if he could do it again this year. And I did not, and I'm almost certain no one could have predicted the kind of performance that Chase put down this year. No one.
No. And then the next one, whom performed, I guess, up to expectation, is the Sixers record breaker, Evan. He was second on the run list. Evan was batting out of his mind this series. In fact, I am. Well, you saw me say that in the article. I am certain that the only reason he wanted to bat to open the innings in the final was because he wanted to run to try and overhaul Chase's run total.
Yeah.
But he took 2 heavy falls in fielding. He took 2 heavy falls. He was, and both of them were injuries to his hands. One to the shoulder, and if you realize, there's a man that is cleared the boundary 38 times, more than even Christopher Henry Gale in a single CPL season, and he holed out quite early in his innings.
Yeah.
And I nobody can tell me that it was not injury that forced him to hold out, for so early in his innings. But I was also commenting on the St. Lucia Kings. They brought that consistency from last year into this year. Faf, I think, was a big loss for them because had he been there, our chances would have been a lot slimmer.
Oh yes, because you realize up to him leaving, right? He was getting better. He was hitting that strike. That was like, Jesus, no. He was just getting better. So they had, and the team was actually playing better. The team was actually playing better. So it was like, wow, you have this guy, and they're looking up to him, but not all that. But because he's holding his own, the players around him, it's easier for them to play. So the team was from 1 to 11. It was just a perfect.
Everybody was performing. Their fielding performance, Kimo Paul must have saved them no less than 12, 16 runs by pulling balls that were supposed to run for boundaries and pulling them in.
I see him. He did one in the final, like just right down there, the long off boundary, and I was like, timing is everything, And I told somebody that he literally he ran, paced himself, and the ball was definitely going for 4. Trust me, it would have been 1 bounce 4, and he just tapped it. He just put out his hand and he just tapped it down that, and it was only 1. It was just a single off of the ball, so he saved 3. Just say that, and he did it many times. So here again is coming into his own. He had injuries previous seasons and stuff like that, and he basically lost the contract with West Indies cricket. They didn't pick him up for a second year, but he got talent. And I don't think anybody could doubt. And that's the thing, you can't doubt the 2016 under 19 for West Indies.
Yeah.
They got talent.
Yeah.
All of them, for Hetmeyer, all of them, though. Even though Powan didn't play with them, he played with them, I think, the year after. I mean, he played the year after, 2 years after. But it's the same, so like they got talent. So I am glad to see, because I've always wondered, like, okay, where the next group of West Indian players going to come from? Especially for this.
Yes.
And
Yep.
I know you're seeing it, where you see these guys put their hand up, Powan, Paul, Joseph, in some extent, because he, to me, is not really such a T20 player, but you could see he's turned into an all-rounder. And,
Yes.
and all of these guys are between the age of what, like 24 to 28? Actually, they ain't even that old, because they played World Cup under 19 in 2016, that's 5 years ago, and 19 and 5 years, so they're like 24. So a lot of these guys are 24, and to say like Powan being given captaincy duty at the age of 24, 25, then, and then when they interviewed, I think they interviewed Andre Fletcher, they asked him, actually, Bish was speaking about it here, but he mentioned the same thing about it's good to see a lot of our players being given, at a young age, given the responsibility of captaining the team. He recalled that he didn't see that in early editions of the CPL.
No.
So you're seeing it now, whereby a lot of the younger guys getting a chance to captain a team, and they're not doing better because you're gonna have to lose some to win some. And
Yes. Yes.
You're gonna have to lose, because that's the only way they're gonna learn.
And he will learn from the experiences.
Mm-hmm.
He will definitely learn from the experiences. And well, what we could possibly do, Gavin, is because this conversation is probably going to take us the majority of the entire discussion this afternoon. We could probably break down our team of the tournament.
Okay.
And then in doing so, a lot of these names will pop back up, and we could probably discuss them some more. But in terms of captaincy, I know Pollard is the West Indies captain, but he was given a lesson in captaincy from his countryman in Dave Bravo. And he was the first name on my list for the team of the season, because you have to appoint a captain first. Yeah. And in my mind, both Pollard and Bravo made it. Yeah. In my mind, Dwayne Bravo is still the best T20 captain that we have in the region. He justifies his selection by his performances. Once he's not injured, he's going to contribute either with bat or ball or both, right? But his mentoring for me, he mentored Drakes this season. He was on top of John Ross Jagger. He mentored Sherfain. When Sherfain had started off with his brilliant form, he was there on the field with him. He was everywhere. The young fella from Pakistan, Nazim. I mean, you cannot. He didn't do a lot in terms of stats, but in terms of his spirit, in terms of the stuff that he brought, Dwayne was able to mentor him and make use of him. It was interesting. It was clinic, as I described it to somebody, in captaincy that Dwayne put, because he had to do it, because St. Kitts Nevis Patriots were not the most talented on paper.
No.
We were not the most talented on paper. Almost all the other franchises could have probably competed with us in terms of raw talent on paper. What we had was the experience of him and Chris. And more so, Dwayne used that experience to the best of his ability. And he himself is quoted as saying that this victory in CPL 2021 stands as one of his top 3 victories. And you could see why, based on his performances, based on how he mentored those guys, based on how he the 3 games that Dwayne missed, the 3 games he lose.
We lost, yeah. The 3 games we lost. And going back to those 3 games, remember when we spoke, I said, losing 2 was like, okay. Losing the 3rd one, I was like, but one constant thing, and I called it from the beginning to now. I was like, yeah, we're going to win. We're going to win this whole thing. And maybe it might have been just saying it, but I was like, no, when you see the way how the team was gelling and how they were getting together. And Bravo, you know, he I think it's his whole disposition and everything about himself that he just, he wins people over. He
Yes.
really, as I said, he mentored Drake's. You'll see the change up in Drake's bowling. He did the same thing for Mackay when he plays for West Indies cricket. Mackay would say, yeah, Bravo calls him to, how trim all the variations and put him back on his bowling. He does the same thing. I'm pretty sure Bravo is behind Cottrell.
Yes.
His
Yes. Yes.
change
Yes. Yes.
ups
Yes.
because he's
Yes.
bowling. Because it's not just about being fast anymore. It's about being accurate and how you learn to read the batsman and stuff like that and read the field. And as the last show when I said Polly, and I was like, he's a very good tactician. When I saw how Bravo played, I said, yeah, Bravo edge him out this, Bravo edge him out this time because Bravo is, he played they read it, both of them, they read the field very well.
Yes.
I seen like the plays whereby you could say one thing, being in the stands or watching it on TV, you'll be like, wait, the batsman didn't just see the guy there. But it's totally different than being on the field and facing the bowler. And you realize a lot of times, I've seen some guys get hit or hit the ball and the fielder probably didn't even have to move because they set that plan up. And Bravo set up a lot of them. You'll see when he goes and speak to the bowler, he changed the field after every single ball is bowled if he has to. And he just set the plan to be like, yeah, he understands it well. And I think because, again, it goes back to his experience of playing all over the world for so many different players and teams and stuff like that. Who knows? He could be captain. Well, I realized Dhoni was captaining today, but he could captain CSK.
Yeah. And he would tell you that he actually learned a lot from Dhoni as well, too.
Yeah. But Dhoni is a mastermind.
And Dhoni is a mastermind.
He's a mastermind.
I would even say so. A lot of the scores when he was captaining, I don't know if you realize it, but with our bowling attack, especially with the inexperience, and we don't have the quality of some of the other teams. We don't have the Odin Smiths and the Romario Shepherds and the what's this guy's name that won Ravi Rampal? We didn't have these guys. We had Drake's, Cottrell. Those were our two main pieces. We had Fawad, who is a veteran. You're gonna always get good. John Ross. This is probably the most recognition he would have gotten for a season. We knew John Ross, but to say that we knew he could have been as effective as he was in this, all of that I think is the gelling together of all of these players that helped restrict a lot of these totals that could have run well in excess of 180, 200 sometimes. And Bravo was there calmly just talking each other through these overs. Were there mistakes? Yes, they were. There were times when persons got, like in the final, when Drake's giveaway or Sheldon would have given away 22 off or over, Drake's give away 18 off or over. You can get those moments, but it's about recovery, it's about containment, it's about restriction, it's about, like you said, field placements, it's about putting pressure on the batsman at the right time, it's about knowing some of the opposition and how to deal with them, and again, a lot of that was well managed by my captain designate for team of the season, Dwayne Bravo. For my two openers, I don't know who you had, but for my two openers, I gave it to Evan and Faf du Plessis. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, well, Faf showed up. To me, he Evan hands down, yes. And that was my only thing. I just needed him to play. I said, all the time as I said, just let him play healthy. Once he's healthy, he's gonna score. And you saw it in his when he scored the ton, and he dropped the bat and he shot. You could have seen that this was for all the times when he, remember Pollard denied him 100 when it was last season. And he had his injury concerns and his injury stuff. And even early in the year, playing for West Indies, he pulled up with injuries and stuff like that. So you could see it was probably like, you know what, this is my time to shine. Thank you, I did it. So he deserves that spot. Faf came on a little bit late. I think I'm gonna be just a little bit biased and put Fletcher in there.
Well, yeah, I was a toss up for me. It was a toss up for me. I said, Lord, I have Puran in there. So
They don't need
if
to
I can bring
to
Fletcher, then
keep up.
I'm bringing Puran just as a batsman. I ain't bringing him as a wicket keeper batsman.
Mm-hmm.
I had Fletch. Fletch was one of my but his average wasn't the best. But again, he
Yeah, it
provided
wasn't.
ample support, and and most of the innings, especially against us, he gave them serious impetus in the power play overs. So
Yeah.
I could see where you it would have included, especially from a West Indian perspective, where
Mm-hmm.
Fletch could have been included as the opener. So you say Fletch and Evan opening for you.
Yeah, I would let Fletcher and Evan opener. I had I wasn't sure who I should bring in number three, in all honesty, because there are a lot of guys who performed. I was thinking Powan, but I don't know if it's because the fact that he had to captain, so it caused him some issues,
Pressure.
you know. And I was thinking, can I put an opening bats in that position? Is Lewis? Yeah, Lewis from Jamaica. Canal Lewis.
Cannot.
Yeah, but it was still kind of iffy. I mean, he's done well. He worked. It's not like an issue where, but okay, well, he scored once and he didn't score again. You know, he kept his average around 30 something or something like that. But I actually couldn't find a number three who I was like, okay, yeah, this will be my number three.
I promote Roston.
You promote Watson?
I promoted Roston. I put Roston at 4, Puran at 5. I mean, Roston at 3, Puran at 4.
And Puran at 5. Because I had Roston for number 4 because I was like, yeah, just in case you never know what might happen. Say you lose 2 early wickets.
Yeah.
You probably need somebody to come in and save us. So you definitely have Roston in the team. I mean, well, in that position. But yeah, that's a nice call to bring him up at 3. Because again, if you have Lewis and whether it's Fletch and Faf, 1 and 2, and then you come with Waston 3. Now you know definitely if these guys bat to over number 15, it's trouble behind it.
Yeah, you got 300 runs on the board.
Yeah, serious.
yeah. I had Roston, then I had Puran, then I had Pollard.
Yeah.
Right? Dwayne, as I said, Dwayne is the captain. So that would have been my top 6 in the sense that I would have fit in Dwayne somewhere between 5 and 6. We have says Evan, as I said, Faf.
And your keeper would be who? Puran?
Why no? I would if it is that I go with Faf, then Puran will be the keeper.
Okay.
Right? I think not having the captaincy will take that pressure off of him, and you may get better performances. But if it is that we drop Faf and we bring Fletch, then I would let Fletch keep, because Fletch didn't do a bad job behind the stumps at all. You know, so you have Dwayne, Evan, Faf or Fletch, Roston, Puran, Pollard, Dwayne. Dwayne, as I said, could fit in 5, 6. Let Pollard be the person to come on in the last few overs to beat some leather off the ball.
Correct.
So those were my top 6 in terms of the batting. In the bowling now, I had Ravi, obviously, because he was our highest wicket taker. I make sure and keep my boy Drakes in there, especially because of the left arm seam. I think that change up, which really worked well for the Patriots and could very well work on the international scene as well if used properly. I have Ravi, Drakes, Shepherd, Smith, and Akil Hussain. Those are my 5 bowling options.
What about Waterford?
Sherfain is my in my reserve.
Okay.
Sherfain in my reserve. Now, if it is that I bring Rutherford in, I'm going to have to probably drop somebody like Shepherd or Odin Smith.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Because
and let
because you're playing an extra batsman who could bowl.
Right. Right. And unless Sherfain fit in there and drop, I would even say drop Smith more so than even Shepherd, because Shepherd, again, Smith is fast, but to me I think Shepherd is more of a thinker. And he could also produce with the bat. So that would be where I would make a change. I had Russell, Sheffield, Russell, and Tim David as my three substitutes because
Okay,
David had a very good average over
very
this.
good. He,
Very,
he,
very good
he-
average.
you know,
Um,
he was just consistent, you know.
yes,
Like
yes,
the man come in every time and he was just consistent. Like they know, okay, yeah, you'll lose chase or whatever. He come in, he'll give you a steady set of ones. He'd either bat through, and most of the time he did bat through. When he come in, he did bat through, finish the game, and you'll be able to get like a 25, 30, 35 ones from him. Easy like that.
easy. Agreed, agreed,
Mhm.
agreed. So that was by that's my 14 there. I couldn't find room for a lot of other players that I may have wanted to include. Like you said, Kennard Lewis,
Mhm.
he had a very good season. What's his name from Guyana had the spin bowler. He didn't have a bad Imran
Mhm.
Tahir. He didn't
Here?
have a bad
Yeah.
he didn't have a bad season as well. Um, so there are a number of players obviously that we would have wanted to be included. But the fact of the matter is the top 13 or 14 that I have selected kind of outshone everybody else pound for pound, when it mattered. And as far as this last CPL, what about yours? How does your 11 look?
Yeah, that's pretty much like my 11. I've I've been battling because I was like, I really would have liked to see Weatherford there. But
Right?
then we already bat, but then my team were already was batting deep. I did have, so it was Lewis, Fletcher. I really didn't have a number three, so I said, oh, let's squeeze in Waterford all up, didn't know. But then it came down to, for sure, Poran, Chase, Bravo, Pollard. Well, Pollard, Bravo, and Drake's, Ravi Rampal for sure, because it was like, he was the best. To me, he is the best new ball opener we have
Yes.
right now.
Right.
Just the best new ball opener we have right now. I did like Moti, but he didn't really pick up a lot of wickets, but he was helping with the runs, with keeping his runs down. And I, I,
Who's
I
your spin option?
yeah, and that's what I was just going to point out. I put Walsh in reserve, even though he did not play a lot, but just because I know what he's capable of doing. And my spin option was, God, I'm trying to remember his name now. Anyway, it slipped me. Oh, no.
Royale?
Oh, yeah, Royal. That is who he was. It was Royal. But then I have, so that's so 7, 8 is Royal, 3 more to go. No, actually, that's 9. So 2 more to go.
Correct, yeah.
I shifted in Allen, but that was way down. So I had 2. So it was 2 fastmen, 2 spinners. And then I went with not a left arm fast bowler. So I had, for the fast, it was Ravi Rampal, Cotwell.
Right.
Spin, Ryan, and backing up spin would be Allen. So I tried to bat all the way down to 10.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm going all the way batted down to 10. So the only person who might not be able to bat would be Ravi Rampal, but I'm batting all the way down to 10. Well, maybe Ryan, because maybe Ryan isn't as good as him, but I'm batting all the way down to 10. I'm going down to I'm trying to bat deep, and that was basically my team. Yeah, it might sound a little biased because I have mainly Caribbean players, but a lot of the guys. But in all honesty, I think a lot of our players really put their hand up and really performed well in the CPL.
Yes. And that's why I said it was a good display for the CPL as well too, in the sense that for the first time you didn't feel as if it was being that the overseas players had an impact, but they were not the main characters in the play.
Yes.
They played their role, but they were not the main characters in the movies that we saw, and that Glenn Phillip didn't have the series that he normally would have had. Imran Tahir, as I said, didn't have the series. Fawad Ahmed, he did well for us, but he didn't have the series he would have normally had. So it was a lot of these youngsters that put their hand up. Like Royale came out in blue, and literally terrorized batsmen. There was another one from Royale is Barbados, right? There was another one from St. Lucia as well too. Naeem Young.
Oh yeah,
Naeem
because
Young was
Kenny
really
Gagne,
good as well
right?
too.
Yeah.
He put his hand up. Hayden was seemed to have been a little bit off, but as you said, potential is there, so you can always work with him. But a
Mm-hmm.
lot of our younger players, like you said, the mid-20s, it gave us a bit more hope for the future. Upon the retirement of Gale and Bravo, Pollard can go soon too. I give Pollard another 2-3 years at the top.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that would allow now these young fellas to further hone their talents and make a name for themselves
Yeah.
in cricket, you know.
Yeah, because
And
if you look
I'm
at
not fearful anymore. Let me put it
no,
that way. I'm no longer fearful of
I'm in the same boat with you because that's also my concern was, and it has been asked, and I know it has been asked in your presence, whereby we were asked who is coming through, who will be representing West Indies because it was like it wasn't seen as, and where's the development going on,
yes.
so who's going to take over from these guys when they leave? Because as I said, Gale is retiring from international cricket, so Gale retired. Um, Bravo retired from international cricket after the end of this World Cup. So who's going to be taking up the men to know to go forward and push forward for West Indies? And you see these guys now saying, yeah, putting their hands up. And really, in all honesty, I've heard it being quoted, and I didn't want to speak out the terms, and I just was peeping on the site on ESPN whereby they say this CPL was probably one of the best ever. I don't really want to say it, but I cite and I was like, maybe, possibly up there because it was really a good CPL. But the players, though, our players have
Yeah, in
really
terms
put
of
their hands up.
development. Yeah.
Yeah, the players have really put their hands up. And if we get it right, we could have a good core players of you need your seniors, but you have a good youngsters coming through the system. Because in all honesty, when Bravo was even brought back into West Indies cricket, I was like, why? But then you saw his value, and you keep seeing his value because even when he got picked by thing, you'll be like, okay, they're bringing him. What is his value? And you're seeing, so he's showing his value. He's showing his worth. They're getting more from him than what they're paying for him because it's like,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah, he's not just showing up to play now. He's showing up and he coaching a lot of the young guys. A lot of the young guys saying how much they are learning from him. And it's very strange because Bravo really was a batsman who bowls, not the other way around. He was a batsman when he came into West Indies cricket. He was a batsman who they call and, Test cricket. They said, man, just bowl a few overs here just before tea and just before lunch and stuff like that. And he turns around now to be one of the
He's the highest T20 wicket taker in the world.
Exactly. And the best death bowler, T20 bowler.
Yes. Yes.
And he is a batsman who bowled. How he started his career as a batsman who does throw the ball to and say, bowl a few overs. And
you're right in the sense that if you pound for pound, you're going to get a better batsman and a better bowler in terms of pace, because he was never raw pace. Batting wise, he has his flaws, but for him to have achieved what he's achieved is the brain, is intelligence.
It is.
He realized what his weaknesses were. He realized what, for example, the slower ball did not become such a weapon until Dwayne Bravo made it a weapon in the T20.
Yes.
Other bowlers would have used the slower ball, but to say they used it as consistently as a weapon, Dwayne Bravo created that entire dynamic based alone. I give him credit for that alone. Yeah. Not that others can bowl the slow ball, but to be able to use it so effectively. And especially when it came, remember when it was discussion about death bowling, who to bowl those last overs. All over the world they had challenges.
Yep.
Dwayne Bravo was the man who mastered it before most other more talented bowlers was able to do it. Similarly with his batting, he knew he had his weaknesses, but he had the inside-out shot, and he can play the inside-out shot and play with whoever coming against him. as best as he possibly can.
And
Is
it's
he
funny
the
because
most
the inside
orthodox?
of the
No.
shot, it looks awkward. Eh? If you look at it, it'll probably look awkward, but it works and it functions. And a lot of
Yeah.
batsmen play it now because they use it as a way to get themselves out of a hole. They'll be like, listen, outside trap set or whatever trap set, they'll be like, I'm just going to try the inside out.
Yeah. 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 But for sure, the slow ball, I credit him for.
Oh, yeah,
I credit him for that.
definitely.
You know?
Definitely.
And like you said, Evan now, I think, has officially taken up the mantle from Chris. I think Chris could retire now after this World Cup, knowing that we have somebody that may not be as aggressive, but even so, that's arguable because Evan beats in sixes now.
Oh, yeah.
And Evan is only 26 years old.
Yeah, and he hits them easily. It's sometimes his timing is great. The only person I see have possibly better timing, well, and that same age range, it might be Powan. Like Powan just, and it even Hetmeyer. Like he just, they just pick the ball, they pick up the ball very fast, but he never looks like he forces it as much.
Yes.
He just smacks the ball. He just a little smacks it.
Pimps it over wherever it's going. And boy, does it travel. So I'm not too worried about Chris saying, hey, I can't make it no more anymore. Long time I was concerned. Like, even prior to this CPL, I was saying, boy, we have to carry Chris to the World Cup because that fear factor that he has. But Evan can rightfully, going into this World Cup, have that same type of fear factor. And even more so because he's much more of an orthodox batsman than Chris is.
Yeah, because Evan is like, and that's why person said, why don't he play? Like, he couldn't be possibly playing Test cricket. Because he's a proper batsman. He's a proper batsman. He holds the bat where he walks, he holds the bat where he sets himself properly. He moves his feet, which is one of the most important things. And how he does it so well is that he plays pace really good, but he plays pin really, really well.
Yes.
And you see a lot of batsmen who's able to do that. A lot of our batsmen in the Caribbean, they play pace very well. And that is what kills a lot of teams. But when we go outside and, we're only playing World Cup and not flat pitches in UAE.
Dubai.
Dubai. So it's like, we're gonna have to be playing Pakistan, I think. In Pakistan is on a group, I think. So who they're gonna be coming with? Left arm spin bowlers.
Yes.
So when you have persons like Lewis in your squad, who is a proper batsman, proper technique, proper batsman and stuff like that. And I just say he will be bringing a fear factor from this CPL T20, taking it over to World Cup. So a lot of teams will be, okay, well, Gale ain't playing, huh? No, they have to play. Said Gale ain't playing, huh? You got Lewis coming. And then you still have Powan coming, because Powan, he really didn't get to show his worth, I guess, because, he was captaining, and, he probably not ready for that yet. So I think having him as he's the vice captain for the T20 squad, for the World Cup T20 squad, which is good. So having him as that is a way to bring him into the
system, yes.
Captain, and stuff like that. But Powan again is I don't know it, and I might be a little biased, but I think Powan is actually a better batsman than Hetmeyer.
Yeah.
He's so
Hetty, I'll tell you something about Hetty. Hetty have talent, can done. But Hetty, I think, is a bit too distracted. Too many, I don't know if it's off-field distractions, but you see, there's always this little twitch that comes with genius. And Hetty's on the borderline of genius. But these are the kind of players that I think need nurturing. These are the kind of players I think need greater mentoring. And maybe mentoring means putting a firmer hand on him and say, boss man, forget the fancy hair and the fancy beard until you actually begin to put runs on the board. When you reach that status, then you could start coloring your hair like Andre Russell and them fellas and them.
Because that is how these guys did. These guys, they made a name for themselves consistently.
Yes.
So Andrew also became Dre was, Dwayne Bravo became DJ Bravo, that kind of stuff. But they already made a name for themselves. They already won multiple championships. Because all of these guys have won championships playing all over the world. So they have name made for, so they have a brand, and that's what they do. But
Right.
the brand is linked to the performances from the cricket field. You, Hetmeyer, have to be, because listen, if Hetmeyer, in all honesty, if Hetmeyer gets it right, he would be our, well, even though I don't want to say it, but he would be like our Kohli, you know, our Kane Williamson, whereby
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know
yeah.
when these guys go down to bat, you could say, okay, you know what, I could go town and come back, and they
And he's
still
still
be a
batting.
batting.
Yes.
Because
And
these
good
guys,
cricket shots.
yeah,
Good
cricket
cricket shots.
shots. You
Yes.
know these guys could just bat because Hetmeyer has the talent. There's nobody denying this guy the talent. He got the talent. He just need to know, just nurture and use the talent in the right sense, and he'll be good. He will be good.
Agreed. Agreed. Agreed.
That's
So
what
I'm
I
not
can say
I
on it.
believe that with him and
Mhm,
Puran, you have a
mhm,
replacement for the likes of Andre Russell and to a certain extent even Kieran Pollard.
mhm.
So like you said, that future, this 2024 to 20, I would say, let's say 23 through 28 age group of cricketers, especially that started to show themselves in this particular World Cup,
Mhm,
CPL, I
mhm.
think bodes us well for the following edition of the World Cup,
Yeah.
where we weren't sure previously what was going to be done, but now I think we have a fairly good idea as to, and this is only some. There are going to be much more who are going to come through the system as well, um, and it'll be interesting to see how these youngsters develop. But it is almost it's 5 already. But I wanted us. Well, I know this entire thing was dedicated to CPL and particularly Patriots.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you have any quick thoughts on the football over the weekend. Um, a quick divergence.
Yeah. Well, um, my team finally won 2 games in a row. We didn't lose 2 games in a row. We won 2 games in a row, so I feel good. So I can't say we're back to winning ways yet. We still got a long way to go. I realize Chelsea pounced on Spurs today, beating them 3-0. And it showed that Chelsea actually ended up with, what you call it, they have what, 10 different goal scores for the season already, and the season just started. So that actually now making me want to reshuffle and rethink of who might be ending up with the championship this season. Manu won 3-2, 3-2, 3-2,
2-1.
right? 2-1, oh,
2-1.
2-1. And the thing about it is that we go back to Ronaldo. I mean, I don't know. I honestly don't. Yeah, because we didn't speak. We haven't spoken since Ronaldo made his debut. But I didn't see the goals from today. But Ronaldo's second goal last week was such a classic Ronaldo. The guy is still running like he's 23, man. Jesus. He is quick, agile, still strong, and he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. So I know that some person will say, well, Ronaldo going to come and he'll score the goals, but no, you see a lot of the players still surround him. A lot of the players might still go for him, but he still have the intensity that he has always had about winning. And it will be so good to see this in a lot of other professional football players. In not football, just professional sport athletes that
Agreed.
have been put. I looked at a game with Haaland, with Borussia Dortmund, and Haaland was Spain, and he reminded me a bit of Ronaldo, whereby even though they lost, but his intensity kept up for the whole 90 minutes. He felt bad at the loss and stuff like that, and is I think a lot of it would be nice if you could see a lot more players, especially younger ones, playing with this whole
True, with
with
that
this
type of
intense,
mentality.
yeah, with that type of
But
mentality.
in truth, remember he and Messi are once in a lifetime type talent.
Yeah, I don't.
Um,
We're not gonna see that. Well,
you're
I
not
don't.
going to see that again.
Mm,
That's like Ronaldinho. That's like
mm,
the Ronaldo Navarro from Brazil.
yeah.
Those are once in a lifetime talents that. But his own, I think, has been defined by his work ethic, the way he's maintained his body, the way he has
Mm-hmm.
treated himself. He had been determined to win from ball one, and he never slowed down. My notable results of the weekend was the Man City draw.
Mm-hmm.
Leicester lost today
Oh,
to Brighton, which was a real shot in their
shocker.
leg, for their title and top four hopes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Yeah, United won. I actually am impressed with Arsenal because it takes a lot of character to bounce back. And you're not bounce back by playing the best football. You bounce
Mm-hmm.
back by grinding it out and
Yeah,
putting results on the board.
yeah.
So kudos to Arteta and the team for being able to
They
pull
said
it together.
his plan is actually coming together now. So I'm waiting it out. As I said, I didn't like the fact that we were losing. I didn't really support him, but I said I will support him because I believe that he had a plan. So I always was saying I will give him 2 years because I believe 2 years will be enough for him to come. And he had a plan, and he has a plan. Even bringing in, even switching the goalkeeper, like another person said, but he's the manager. He makes the call. I mean, we were
Yeah.
like it, but he made the call, and it seemed, and for 2 straight games, it seemed to be the right call that he made.
Yeah. They showed a sense of character there that I didn't see in the first 2, 3 games of the season. So proud of them for that. Tottenham, in usual Tottenham style, started off hot and sweaty, but
Mm-hmm.
they get a walloping again today. Welcome Nuno to the big leagues. You know,
Yeah,
you wanted a big team, so
you
this
played
is
a
what
big
this
team.
is this is
You
what
played a big team.
so this is what you have to deal with when you have a big team now. The expectations go up as well.
Mm-hmm.
City going through their usual early season woes. I ain't taking my eye off of them as yet.
No.
Um, Chelsea reminds me very much of the Chelsea under Mourinho. When they broke those records, they look a very ominous prospect. I
Yes.
was saying that Tuchel may find it hard adapting in his first full season. I'm not seeing those challenges yet. Romelu Lukaku looks like a man reborn and definitely with the bit between his teeth. He wants to prove something and he will take some stopping. United, I am not overly convinced, but the Ronaldo factor has made a difference
Yes, it,
already.
it has.
I expect that they will do better than my predictions now that he's there in the team, but I still think that there is something missing. And you know, I've been singing this for the longest while. In terms of the coaching, there is
Mm-hmm.
something missing. I think it was exposed again today. And had it not been for the heroics of Jesse Lingard and David De Gea, we would be singing a very, very different tune here this evening.
Mm-hmm.
But kudos for them. They were able to pull it out and they remain in contention within the top few teams of the league. But I'm
Yeah.
not yet convinced by Ole. Ole,
But
I know
I
the.
think you guys are hard on him, in all honesty. I mean, maybe it comes from expectation because Man United is Man United. Number
Yes.
one, whether you want hands down, number one club in the world. Right? So I think the expectation of persons from is that okay, you're Man United, we deserve to have this at all times. So that's just how I feel about it because I'm like, you guys, okay. Remember you had a what I would call an old team. So it took a while rebuilding. And now you rebuilding, you reaching to the point whereby I think you I don't know. I actually would give you guys some more props than that and not be too hard on Oli.
Here's my challenge with Ole, Gary. Whenever Ole has a big team to play,
Mm-hmm.
he has no problem motivating the players.
Mm-hmm.
My challenge is how do you navigate the teams that we have less expectations against? You know?
Mm-hmm.
And most of these teams have very experienced Premier League managers, which is something that I think we tend to overlook sometimes when we analyze. They are very experienced Premier League managers. David Moyes ain't no rollover,
Nope.
you know, and he made the adjustments today that nearly put Ole. Had it not been for that Mark Noble decision, it would have been a draw. Believe it or not, United would have been happy with a draw because, in truth and in fact, they were expecting nothing out of the game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm hard, but you, as you said, you want that job. They just resigned you to a 3-year contract, and now you've now signed arguably one of the best players in the world to supplement. You had the best transfer window since you got the job, better than any other manager that has had that job since Alex Ferguson retired. So put up now, or by December, if I start to see the type of results you're looking for, I wouldn't mind you getting a pink slip
Okay.
and bringing somebody like Conte, who
Uh-huh.
knows football, knows tactic, even how you're substituting players, how you're rotating your squad,
Mhm.
all of these things. I just think he just still lacking a lot of,
But
and that's why I'm not really imbued with confidence in it.
where do you expect them to be at the end of just before the Christmas break?
If they're not within the top four,
Mm-hmm.
I think he should.
He should go.
At the very least, I don't know, top four doesn't sound difficult. Let's say top six.
Mm-hmm.
If he is outside of the top six around December, then walk away. But I think he should be up there battling by rights with the likes of Liverpool, with the likes of Chelsea, with the likes of City, because City got a rebound. You know, I do not see the other teams that we previously predicted posing as much of a threat now that you've added Ronaldo. Leicester should not pose as much of a threat to you again. Tottenham obviously is not as dangerous a prospect as they were once considered,
Yeah.
even though Nuno did some very early season results. So, in my opinion, if you can crack the top four, yeah, somebody else got to come
Yeah,
in and do that job.
but they
Somebody
can't
else
come
got to come in and
excited
do that job.
because the top four gonna most likely will be sorry, not Tottenham, Man City,
Chelsea,
Chelsea for sure,
Liverpool.
Liverpool, and then gonna have Manchester United, Tottenham, because I think Tottenham gonna hang around close, Leicester gonna hang around close, but I think when it's gonna start to get tricky is that and close to end of October, middle November time period. I think that's when it's gonna start to get tricky for a lot of
When the
teams.
games, when the games
Yeah,
pile up.
yeah, and then we're gonna realize like, did the transfer window work for some? Is Chelsea still gonna have 10 players scoring for them? Is Harry Kane gonna show up? Will Vardy continue scoring, or will he just drop off? And will Man City hit that groove where they hit whereby they beat you 5-0, 10-0, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just that because Man City does that a lot.
Yes.
I just think their plan is this. And I was speaking to one of the fans yesterday. I told him, I said, your guys' plan is simply, I'm going to score the most goals.
That's all.
Even if by chance me and you end up, I'm going to win the championship based on goal difference. And that's what they do.
And he
Simple
learned
like
that. He learned that from Fergie.
Yeah. Or
He learned that from Fergie. He learned that from Fergie. So kudos to him for learning that lesson.
Sure.
No?
Sure.
But we've gone about 10 minutes over our designated time. What I want to do next week is invite somebody like Richard Berridge or even the owners of the Patriots. Let's engage them as on a kind of a review. Ask them how it was from a management perspective, what they went through. And so that may dominate our conversations next week, along with the usual weekly news updates.
I want to know from them too, like what are their plans in the future between this like CPL ending and the one next year? Like what are the plans for team development for the for the nation? How are they going to do it? That kind of stuff. Like really, what are the plans?
Okay, that's a fair discussion. So I would try and see if we could book the appointment. They were traveling this weekend as well too, so I think that was the difficulty in us trying to tie them down to any sort of interviews today. But again, congratulations to them. Congratulations to the players. Congratulations to the management, coaching staff. Simon Helmut, you can't give Bravo all the praise and not recognize that Helmut obviously would have definitely had to played his role as well. Congratulations to the Twin Island Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.
Oh yes.
On a well-deserved CPL 2021 trophy. And the only problem with that now is that you've raised our expectations even higher. We always knew we were going to win. But no, you're expected to win.
Exactly.
With every year going forward now.
Yeah, and that even gets tougher.
Yeah, yeah.
It's tough.
You are now going to be the team that everybody's you're gonna have your target on your back. But
Mhm.
you know what? Let's enjoy it for now. We've got another 12 months or so before it returns again. So let's enjoy it and hoist our trophy as high as we possibly can in the process. And yeah, leave them a congrats and best wishes to everyone, in that regard.
Yeah.
Any closing comments from you?
No, just want to again just say congrats to all. It's really surreal to actually know that Saints and Nevis is the CPL champions. It's surreal. It was very strange. I had two Trinidadians, we do some work with them, and they contacted me. One of them was like, "Oh, Gary, you already in the pack?" Well, like, "No, I made it in the pack. We're going out for lunch." And they were like, "Well, just know if you got supporting your guys, eh?" So you had the support. So we had a lot of support and stuff like that. So it was good to see. So I just really want to say, congrats to the entire team, the entire nation for what we've done, and I really believe that it's a start of something new. It's a process, but it's a start of something new. And I really it's good. And also congrats to the entire CPL organization.
Yes.
For pulling this off. And for pulling this off, and the government of St. Kitts and Nevis for pulling it off, and everybody who worked to make it possible. Because trust me, it had to be a task. It had to be a task.
I know everybody wouldn't be happy, but I think the final product is what everyone was concerned about, and the final product is definitely something we can be proud of, something the region can be proud of, and it has everyone now looking very intently towards CPL 2022.
Yes.
I think next year is going to be even crazier because now they've raised the bar, and there's no, you can't afford to drop it from there.
You can't go back. You can't go back.
You can't go back from there at all. So thanks to our gracious studio manager for allowing us the little extra time.
Oh, yes.
Thanks for the audience for sticking around with us today. We know it might have been a little longer than usual, but it was a lot that we had to discuss. And I'd also like to say thanks to all of those supporters, like you rightly mentioned, who may not have been original supporters of the Patriots, but once we got to that final,
we were
not representing their or we're not playing against their franchise. We felt like if we had them, we had their support, and I think that entire group is what helped push us to victory.
Yeah. And something I want to add before we go. I did tell you they can't beat us 3 times.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Commiserations to the St. Lucia Kings. They were arguably one of the best teams of the CPL. They deserved their second place finish, and we look forward to locking horns with them again next year. Darren Sammy and company, Andy Flower and company. So for all of those listeners that were here with us this afternoon, thank you for being here, and we will look forward to seeing and hearing from you again next week. Gavin, it's been a pleasure as usual, my brother.
Always.
And next week again, same time, same place. As I said, let's try and arrange one of those interviews to see if we could get a bit more involvement from the management.
Sound good.
All right. Bye, all right. Well, all to all and sundry, thanks very much, and thanks again for being here with us on the bench meeting. Have a good afternoon there in the bright, sunny St. Kitts and Nevis.
For real and unbiased sports news and reviews, from cricket to football and everything in between, with in-depth interviews from your favorite sports icons, check out The Bench Meeting, hosted by Kenneth Bob on Sundays from 4 to 5 p.m.